was me on an ordinary Saturday, just scrolling through my life until I had enough. So I set myself a challenge to go 48 hours without any electronic devices. No phone, no laptop, and no music. Luckily, fate was on my side when the doorbell rang and I found a package with some delicious supplies. For this challenge, I knew I needed enough stuff to keep myself busy, so no money was spared to stop myself from my inner creative being. There was a lot of different stuff I always wanted to try, so now that I finally had the time for it, I had a lot to catch up on. But then when I sat down to start my first drawing, the blank page was just looking back at me, and suddenly I didn't know what to draw. I thought that maybe a change of scenery might help. Nature has always been a place of inner peace for me, where I could recharge my energy, so of course I had to take a small trip to help myself find the inspiration I needed. Being high above the problems of my daily life gave me a new perspective. It was like a breath of fresh air as I realized how ordinary things could be so beautiful, and the world around me never ceased to amaze me. After looking everywhere I could think of, I finally noticed that the right inspiration had been directly in front of me all along. Coming home from this tiring but very rewarding trip, I was more ready than ever to start with my project. And this time I knew exactly where to start and what to do. Although this day was exhausting, it was much more fulfilling than any other Saturday I had had in a long time. I couldn't wait for the next day to come, after a good night's sleep, of course. I started into the following morning with less energy than I had hoped for, so the first adventure of the day was a trip to the grocery store, which provided me with everything I needed to create a delicious dish. The recipe has been passed down through generations of my family. Very complicated and very tasty. Now that I had this refreshing start to the day, I could make the most out of it and finally get to work. But I was immediately facing the same problem as the day before. I just didn't know what to do. Nothing quite piqued my interest until something did. Pottery has always seemed too complicated to try out, but with enough time on my hands and some supplies, which seemed simple enough, nothing was holding me back. Creating a trinket dish from scratch was more fun than I could have imagined. For the first time in a while, I set my perfectionism aside and didn't focus on every little detail being flawless. Since you should never work for too long without a break, I took the time to have a small but relaxing tea party with a close friend of mine, so I had enough energy to continue with my pottery. Finishing this project was a very satisfying experience, and I was pretty proud of myself for sticking to it. I'm certain that now that I've found this connection to my inner creativity, I will not let it go anytime soon.
3, 2, 1, Challenge vorbei!